The Devil Summoner games are some of my favorite Megami Tensei titles, even if the Devil Summoner series can be a little tricky to keep track of. You've got Devil Summoner 2, which is actually Devil Summoner 4, and then Soul Hackers 2, which is technically Devil Summoner 5, and is the sequel to Soul Hackers, which is Devil Summoner 2. But specifically, I love the third and fourth games, Raidou Kuzunoha vs. the Soulless Army and Raidou Kuzunoha vs. King Abaddon, which are commonly referred to by fans as the Raidou duology, since they star Raidou Kuzunoha. Which, just as a reminder to anyone looking to get into these games, is a title and not his actual name. Like, even the King Abaddon instruction manual tells you it's not a good idea to name him that in the game. It gets confusing. There are a lot of reasons why I love this particular duology. I'm a huge fan of the 1920s setting, I love the emphasis on being a detective devil summoner, Soulless Army's cover art is a true feast for the eyes, the characters are all fantastic, Raidou himself is my favorite protagonist in the entire franchise, and Meguro's soundtrack work here is absolutely amazing, some of the best work he's ever done. I can and have spent way too many hours listening to the Lazy Detective Agency. Heck, I've gone on record saying that King Abaddon is my third favorite Megaten game, and I stand by that. So naturally, I'm pretty excited to see Raidou make a comeback in the freshly announced Soulless Army remake. Not that we knew about this in advance or anything, no, of course not, it was all just pure detective work on my part. I am just that good at sniffing out new Atlas announcements. I heard they're even planning to release a Persona game with a 6 on it at some point. And you know what else the Raidou duology had that I really loved? Well, if you're familiar with this channel at all, you know what I want to talk about. Demons. In fact, this duology has a surprisingly high number of brand new demons that we haven't seen in Megami Tensei before, or since. So, with the recent announcement, I figured what better time than now than to go over some of my favorites. That's right, I'm here to talk about 10 demons introduced in the Raidou duology that have only been in, well, I'll say Raidou-related media, as some of my picks here have been in things like the novel Raidou Kuzunoha vs. the Messenger of the Dead, or the manga Raidou Kuzunoha vs. the Lone Maribito. While I'm only going to be talking about demons specifically introduced in one of these two games, I do want to give a quick honorable mention to some demons that aren't exclusive to the Raidou titles, but their specific Raidou designs are. You've got stuff like Legion having a more skeletal design in these games over the gross baby faces he has in most other titles. High Pixie's Raidou design basically just being a normal pixie with a dye job and a yukata. Muspel for being Blue Cert, or Blurt if you'd prefer. Belphegor for using an older model toilet, which makes more sense for Raidou's historic setting, and is a fun nod to the classic art that inspired Belphegor's design in the franchise, which I talked about in my recent Demonic Compendium video on the demon. And of course, Kudan for just being Kudan. I mean, just look at her. This demon was actually mentioned in Amabie's compendium entry from Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance, so I'd love a chance for them to hang out with one another sometime. Oh yeah, and quick shout out to Dormarth, who actually made her introduction in the Raidou novel, but didn't appear in any games until the 3DS version of Soul Hackers. But she's gone on to be in Soul Hackers 2 and even Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance, so if we get any new Raidou games, she better be in them. Alright, but enough prattling on and rewatching that new trailer, let's talk about some demons. I feel like it's become something of a tradition in videos like this for me to talk about Jack Frost demons and variants first. So obviously, let's start things off with Raiho, aka Raiho Kuzunoha. This is one of the many Jack Frost versions of a protagonist, complete with Raidou's iconic sideburns. Now, some of you may recall there was a similar looking Frost in Persona 1 on the PSP called Raiho, so technically he's not a Raidou exclusive demon. But the thing is, that's actually supposed to be Hiho-kun, a different but somewhat similar Jack from Shin Megami Tensei V. While you can only get Raiho in New Game Plus runs of Soulless Army, at least the current version of Soulless Army, he's a great demon, a fun little character, and one of my favorite additions to the series. S tier. Oh, wait, wrong video series. Sorry, Force of Habit. He does deserve it, though. Hey, real quick, if you like what I do, please consider commenting, subscribing, maybe even checking out the Patreon. It helps a lot. Thank you, moving on. Next up is Ichimokuren, a one-eyed Japanese wind deity who, yes, does have the exact same design as another demon in the franchise called Backbeard. Apart from using wind to blow over ships at seas, he's also a god of smithing, which is probably a lot more impressive when you think about him doing it with those tentacles. It's not one of the most unique or interesting of the Raidou exclusive demons, but still manages to stand out well enough. Though, if you watch him for long enough, it's very obvious from his expression that he knows you're the one that farted. Backbeard wouldn't call you out on it, because as you can see from his Demikid's design, he's a classy demon that wears a top hat. Ichimokuren, though, no such luck, so he's definitely gonna say something about it. Oboroguruma is a Japanese yokai based on a cursed ox cart that ran over a woman. Her spirit then possessed the cart, and in many depictions gives it a giant creepy face. Since the Raidou games take place in a time period where automobiles are somewhat newer technology, they updated the design to a modern-for-the-period car, and it could even be seen as a retro version of Kaneko's old Chris the Car design. While Oboroguruma mainly draws the eye to the sputtering, clunking vehicle, I always get a bit of the giggles looking at the little driver through the windows. Of all the demons on this list, Oboroguruma is the one I really would have liked to have seen return in Shin Megami Tensei V. An updated vehicle, but still a junker, would have fit really well in the scrapped car yard, and it would have been fun if you're walking along only to have one of the cars suddenly jump out at you. Now, many of you are probably looking at Shouten and thinking, wait a minute, that's just Ganesh, and yes it is, even down to him having Ganesh's broken tusk in the model. While Ganesh is a renowned figure in Hinduism, Shouten, sometimes known as Kangiten, is a similar figure in Buddhism. While I don't think the light yellow banana color is quite as memorable or appealing, I do like the big club that this one carries around, and I like the design on his belly. Unfortunately, without going into spoilers, Shouten is a demon behind one of the most annoying parts in both Soulless Army and King Abaddon. And I'm not holding my breath that any re-release is going to address these things, but hey, I'd love to be wrong. Alright, now from here on out, you won't recognize these demons if you're only familiar with Soulless Army. That's right, it's all King Abaddon introduced demons from here on out. Starting with the giant spider woman, Jorougumo. You'll meet this demon at the end of the tutorial, where sadly you will not have the option to take her up on her invitation to be her lover. I personally really like this design for the demon, but what's very interesting is that despite being a Raidou exclusive demon that was introduced in King Abaddon, there does exist Kaneko artwork of a Jorougumo design that never made it into any of the games. While both designs certainly have their appeal, feel free to let me know in the comments which design you like better. If I may sum up Chou-Keshin in 2 words, Ice Hwapo. No, wait, that's 3, isn't it? This is a butterfly yokai that can take over a person and slowly kill their body while absorbing their spirit. They typically travel in large, dangerous swarms and can move between our world and the next. While the design is not anything too special, as it intentionally feels very similar to Pixie, Hwapo, and other similar demons, I don't know, I've gotta say, a swarm of Japanese death butterflies is a pretty fun and unique demon that I'd love to see make a comeback, whether she remains as a cute girl or not. Now, before I move on to the last 4 demons, I'm not going to go into specific plot details, but I will say they all are arguably a little bit spoilery just by knowing who they are, so watch at your own risk, or just skip to this timestamp if you really want to hear my outro. You're going to want to. It's a doozy. If you watched my Neglected Demons video from a while back, you may have recalled that I talked about Binbou-gami. Not only is this Japanese deity of bad luck and misfortune a very memorable figure in the plot, he's one of the last newly introduced fiend demons before Atlus decided to just recycle the same skeletons for the past 15 years. I really love the design of this guy, from the tattered robes, to the money rain, to the matted hair. It's just a very memorable demon for me, and having a chance to see it again is something that I'm really looking forward to. With any luck, we'll see even more of him moving forward, because I think he'd be a great figure to bring back. And speaking of newly introduced fiend demons from King Abaddon, I should also take a moment to talk about Yakubyou-gami. While Binbou-gami is more about bringing bad luck to slobs, this dude takes it to the next level and is a renowned god of plague and destruction in Japanese folklore. Oh yeah, and he hates dogs.
Boo this man!
Just think, we might have been able to avoid a confrontation with this guy if Raidou hadn't been a cat person. Oh well. While I don't really dislike this design or anything, I will admit I just don't find him as charming or memorable as Binbou-gami in design or story role. And speaking of newly introduced fiend demons from King of Bat, whoa, deja vu. This one comes with a little bit of an asterisk. See, after defeating all of the other fiends by the end of the game, Raidou has a chance to encounter the Kageboushi, which roughly translates as Shadow Man. The design is essentially a dark, shadowy version of Raidou with a sinister grin and lightning crackling around his body. Astute Megaten fans are probably aware that this is the common MO for how the franchise handles Doppelganger, and that's essentially what this demon is. But because it's technically Kageboushi and not Doppelganger, I still get to include it on this list. Unfortunately, you can't actually recruit Kageboushi onto your team as he's purely an optional boss demon, but it's a cool and memorable figure even if we're only ever likely to see him in the Raidou games. And speaking of boss demons that you can't recruit onto your team, Apollyon is a regular figure throughout King Abaddon and is actually the Greek name for Abaddon himself. These giant black locusts feel very relevant to the mythology of the figure, as Abaddon is frequently described as a locust king. I understand that it's a very plot-relevant figure to King Abaddon, and we're not super likely to see Apollyon in any other games, or at least we haven't yet, but I really see no reason why this figure couldn't come back. One thing that King Abaddon did that I liked a lot was to take a lot of formerly enemy-only demons from Soulless Army and make them recruitable, like the Red Cape. So if we ever do manage to see a Raidou 3, which would be Devil Summoner 6, maybe they'll surprise us. I hope so, because Apollyon is awesome. Alright, and there you have it, 10 demons that are, at least for the time being, exclusive to the Raidou duology. I figured with the confirmed re-release they just announced, it might help to be a bit more familiar with some of the new faces you're going to see. But don't worry, I didn't cover all of them, so there are still some fun surprises in store for you all. So, what was your favorite demon that we discussed today? Is there a Raidou-specific demon that you think I should have included instead? What do you all think about the new announcement? Is it something that you're excited for? Did you play the original games, or is this going to be your first time experiencing them? As always, please let me know what your thoughts were down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care. Oh, right, I promised a doozy of an outro for people who skipped the spoilers. Well, have I got a treat for you! Look everybody, it's Raiho! Hi kids, I'm Raiho and stuff. Remember to drink water. Hee-ho!